This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so we'll call the meeting to order. Instead of pledge, we'll have Ron do the COVID prayer.
Dear Heavenly Father, I ask that as this COVID pandemic seems to be winding down, that you would keep us diligent and mindful of each other and mindful of personal space, and just that we would be looking out for each other throughout the community. And I ask that you would keep us in the board ethical, and that we would do the right things by the village. I ask in your holy and precious name. Amen.
I'd like to add to that, expressing condolences to the family of Jim Morris. I'd like to keep him and his family in prayers as he suffers from a terrible loss. That's all. Just one.
Thanks, Charles. All right. Our first item, it's different tonight. It's a public hearing on the CDVG application for Rackerson. So do we have anybody that wants to speak for the public hearing about CDVG and Racker Center? All right. Give them another minute here and then we'll close that up. All right, so close that public hearing, 7:02. So the next thing is public comment. Does anybody have any public comment?
I do.
Hi, Jerry.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
Jerry Wiley.
I was just speaking with Katie Vesio today from Mega. And I knew from the past that it takes them 6 months to arrange another contract with municipalities if the Constellation or any other ESCO is going to be selected again. Our contract period, I'm saying our, being in the village of Owego, our contract and many 20 other municipalities in this area, the contract period ends June 30th, if I'm not mistaken. And so a decision has to be made, and I'm wondering if the board has made that decision, because I just learned today that on the 8th, which is Monday, the bids you will know what the bids are from Mega for both 100% renewable, which you're in right now, and for the standard grid mix, which I might remind you in 2019 was only 16% renewable. Vast difference, a vast difference from 16% to 100% for just a smidgen of a third of a cent more. And that's why we went with the renewable. So I was wondering if there's been any decision on it, because it's going to be, again, not quite at like a couple hours like it was last year. And you guys, were heroes in like making it work and having a quick board meeting and dealing with it, but nobody should have to. And this year you have from Monday, the 8th, until the 12th, Friday the 12th at 5 o'clock to make your decision. And
Like next week.
I'm wondering what we're going to do about that.
Yeah, we were gonna bring that up tonight too. Rod was gonna, probably gonna have to have another meeting that week to talk about it.
Would I be able to be at that meeting?
Yeah, no, it'll be a regular meeting.
Regular? Okay. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I do have a question on that. If we do this again, do people have to opt out again, or are they just already enrolled and that's that? Because a lot of people had concerns about the opt-out issue.
That's a good question.
It is a good question.
I don't know, honestly, we'll have to get that answered.
All right. I mean, I know I'd be very happy to find the answer to that.
Yeah, if they would re-opt you in if you opted out, you know what I mean? That's a good question.
Oh, that wouldn't be very nice. I
Yeah.
don't think they would do that.
I hope not, but
No.
I mean, I had a lot of very unhappy people
Mhm.
bend in my ear when we first did that about not opting out, and it was just a lot of naysayers. I just hope
Yeah.
to avoid that this time.
I wish it was an opt-in instead of an opt-out.
Mhm. It's very hard for the state to meet its goals, climate goals, and for us to not have exacerbate flooding and droughts and so forth. When people opt in, there's not enough people having enough time to make an intelligent choice about their energy future, our energy future. And so that's why this system was devised, knowing how people are, the opt out. It's not fair. It doesn't feel right. I know, but that's the rationale. The rationale is a beautiful one, but the effect of it isn't always.
Yeah.
I believe another issue is that everybody has Texas fresh on their mind with the renewable, and I know we will fight that battle as well.
Yeah, probably.
It was a natural gas problem.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, they'll take the side they're already on to confirm their bias, whoever.
I
Yeah,
just want
it's
everybody to have their choice, that's all.
Yeah.
right. So it should be interesting. So I think that's all I had to say about it, except I just want to bring in something I said at the last meeting, which is we do what we do about this coming up between the 8th and the 12th with Mega. We at least want credit for the renewable energy that we did opt into as a board. Uh, you did as a board. So we need those points to work toward getting some funding back from the Clean Energy Communities program. Just a reminder on that. And time moves by so quickly. I don't want us to lose that. That's all. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Jerry.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so that's we just found out today that they're gonna give us the bids on Monday. And we gotta make a decision whether we're in or out by Friday of that week. So that's a little crap. I mean, last time it was like days. This time it's still days, but more days, but still not many days.
I did ask them if maybe we could do it on the 15th, so they're gonna get back.
Okay. So we asked if we could decide on the 15th instead of the 12th, because it's Monday instead of Friday. So they're gonna let us know. But
Yeah, she said we have a week this time. I said, well, Monday to Friday is not a weekend on my calendar.
right. Yeah, Monday to Monday would be much better for us. So we have a board meeting anyway, the 15th.
I hope your request is granted.
We'll try. How's that? We've had a meeting every week for the last month, so we'll try.
As long as the supplier up to rate. We keep the rate when we decide. That extra couple.
It's just a weekend.
I know.
Okay. All right. Anybody else public comment?
Mayor, I don't know if this is the right time to bring this up, but the other part of the CDBG public facilities application was the resolution to actually apply. I know you guys separated them out last time, so I didn't know if you had to take an action on that.
We do. So that's where I was going after public comment. The resolution for the hearing. Anybody else have any public comment? And then we'll go on to that resolution. All right. So we had a resolution presented from the county to apply for the CDBG application for the Racker Center.
I do have a question on that, Mr. Mayor. Isn't that located in the town of Owego? So wouldn't that be a town of Owego thing that they should be signing rather than the village?
So they're actually building, it's a DRI project. They're building.
Right.
on-
I understand what they're doing, but they're residing right now in the town, and I wasn't sure how we played into that.
Well, that's a good question for Brittany.
No, the new facility they're constructing is going to be on North Depot Street, where TCRM currently is located. So it is in the village of Owego.
Right, but that is not a current building. I just don't know if this plays into where they are currently, where they currently reside, or how it would play in the future, because things may happen where they do not reside there. Then how would that affect the village?
Well, the CDBG application is based on the location of the actual project, which is in the village.
And I do have one other question, if I may. As the village, we would be the, I guess, undersigners. I don't know how that works, but who would be responsible for this and who would be administrating this?
Yeah, so the program allows municipalities to designate a subrecipient of the grant award. In this case, it would be Racker because they would be the primary beneficiary of the grant funding. At the last meeting, Bob Brazil indicated that Racker would be responsible under that subrecipient agreement to act as the administrator of the program. And of course, I'm always happy to lend my support there as well.
Right, I understand that he said he would be the administrator, but how responsible is the village if it's not administrated properly? Like, would any fallback come to the village?
I mean, you would have to put in place an agreement basically between yourselves and Racker that would outline that if the grant funds are awarded.
Yeah, so I think Nate ought to tell us, what he thinks about that, because I do agree that's a potential, point of concern.
So my understanding is every subrecipient has to enter into an agreement with the village for use of the funds and anything that they're supposed to be doing. I think CDBG typically has a form that they would want you to use for any sort of like sub-recipient agreement. It's
Yeah,
something.
we've done lots of that stuff in the past, so I think we've got experience with it.
Mhm. Yeah, and then generally speaking, any agreement that you sign, I mean, if it obligates this person to be acting on the village's behalf in some way and administering funds, and they don't do it, then that would be a breach of their contract. You have always, I think, some oversight responsibility when it comes to anything like this. You folks need to be doing your job or fulfilling your obligations under your primary contract. So it's incumbent on you to oversee it. Now, if they're committing fraud in some sort of a way and lying to you, one thing, but if you're completely negligent in overseeing them, then that could potentially end up coming back on you. But it's a normal thing I'm sure that, Rod has done or the rest of folks in the village are familiar with, because CDBG programs aren't anything new, that's for sure.
All right, so what we need is a motion to pass or not pass, whichever you guys want to do, the resolution to allow the application to go forward.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
And are we allowing it to go forward, passing it?
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody have any discussion about the application? This is an approval to allow them to apply for the grant funding. Anybody have any?
How much is it?
How much are they going for?
300,000.
Does anybody else have any other questions about the grant?
What is the source of the grant? Where are they applying to?
It's the community development block grant funding.
It's a federal grant, right, Brittany?
Yeah, it's federal funds that flow through New York State Homes and Community Renewal.
Is there a timeline that you have to spend that money within? And will you fall within that timeline if there is?
It's a 2-year period, yes, and then, they do 6 months extensions upon request.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Brittany or Bob?
Well, with this New York State block grant, now is the village limiting themselves? I mean, as far as being able to apply for other needs for the village for this block grant?
Well, the applications are due actually this Friday, March 5th. I don't know if the village had any other, this particular round of funding is for public facilities, planning, and public infrastructure, I believe. So I don't know if the village had any other proposed projects for this time frame. There is another CDBG housing program that's due in April that the county is actually looking at applying for, but they're separate programs. And then, I think, there's always the option of applying for the next funding round if the village has other needs.
Yeah, so this one we'd already have to have the application ready to put in, basically.
I have a question.
Rusty has a question.
Hey, Brittany, do you have any knowledge of when the next rounds of this will be? You said there's one in April that's somewhat similar. Do you have any idea after that?
I don't know. Yeah, the round in April is for housing activities specifically. So it's a separate program that falls under the community development block grant funds, but I don't know when the next round will be.
How often do these generally come out?
I honestly, I can't give you that answer. I would say, I think normally it's an annual basis, but I could look into it and get back to you to see if it's semi-annual.
Thanks, Brittany. Anybody else have any questions about the CDBG application? Rusty wants to say something.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do have my quick comment. I have a lot of thoughts and concerns talking to my constituents about this. I think that the village board is not savvy on how this stuff all works very well. I think it's another one of our quick things, just like the March 8th to March 12th energy decision. And so I'm not prepared to vote for this at this time. That doesn't mean that I don't respect Racker Center. That doesn't mean I wouldn't be in favor of a CDBG block grant sometime. But with the fact that they have to raise millions of dollars, I'm not prepared to do this right now. So I won't be voting for this at this time.
We'll start the
So a point of procedure, we do have a motion and a second on the floor though, so we have to vote on it.
Yeah. So
No, I'm just giving my comment. We're gonna vote on it. I'm just telling you what I'm doing.
we can do the vote now. So we'll start with Rusty. Rusty.
I vote no.
Charles.
I think Rusty raised some concerns, and I think they're legitimate and looking into before we vote. So I'm gonna vote no at this time also.
Rod.
No.
Brad. Brad.
I voted yes. Mike.
Okay. We didn't hear you. Okay, we got it now. Laura.
Yes.
Ed.
Yes.
Not many of these come down to me. Yes.
That may be a first, by the way.
Yeah, I know. There's only a few that actually matter. Don't tell anybody. All right. Let's see, what do we got? Let's do the OHPC resignations / new appointments. Now we got Nadine on. Started joining anyway. Is she still on?
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, hi, Nadine.
Thank you. I hope you got, I sent out a letter explaining the situation, and I sent out copies of the letters of resignation. And Mr. Mayor, I dropped off copies of letters of appreciation, for you to sign along with me. So I just wanted you all to know that and make it part of the public record that 2 very valuable members of the OHPC have recently and kind of suddenly resigned. Christina Knickerbocker, who's been associated either as a secretary or a commissioner for, I don't know, maybe about 10 years. I mean, she's really put in her time. And and her term was up anyway, very soon, in a matter of weeks. So that is that. Tamara Gates has also been on the commission for several years, a very valuable member. And she's had personal reasons that she is resigning for. Both of those valuable people have offered to stay on as ex officios to the commission for a year. And I find that very generous of them, and I would recommend that they be appointed, especially since we'll be training 2 new commissioners. So it's always good to have as many people that are experienced with the procedures and the protocols as possible, for support. So, and the 2 people that I'm going to be recommending for you to appoint are former village trustee Phoebe Morris and Tim Dice. Both of them are property owners in the historic district, and Tim actually has a commercial building, so I like having a commercial property owner. They give a different perspective. Phoebe is a very competent person who's involved in village government. She knows how things work, and she has a long family history, and love for the commission. So I don't know where.
Her dad was a mayor.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So I looked up. So that's that. And if you want to, those are my recommendations to you. I think we can put off the ex officio stuff until the annual meeting. So we kind of go from year to year, make that a nice clean cut. But I do need, I would ask you to please appoint the 2 new commissioners tonight, because we have a meeting on Thursday night, and we have one application to consider and other work to do. So the two people that I am recommending that you appoint as commissioners are Phoebe Morris and Tim Dice.
Okay. Well,
So I'd make the motion to accept the resignations that Nadine has submitted, and to appoint the 2 individuals that Nadine has submitted.
I second.
Nate, how does that work? Because I don't remember all the OHPC details.
I don't recall them all exactly off the top of my head either. I think, though, you should be identifying the terms of the 2 individuals and that they're filling, because these terms aren't the exact same.
Yeah, Nadine did in the letter that she submitted. She identified the terms that they're replacing.
Right, Christine, I think both of these people as of today would be acting as, I guess the word would be like interim, they would be filling in, and then until that term ends, then I would ask again for them to be appointed for their own 3-year terms. That's the way the ordinance states that we can do that. They can fill in, and then they can be appointed for their own 3-year terms. Christine, I don't know where we are with the pandemic. And hers is supposed to be over, Christina Knickerbocker's term in 2021. So I don't know if that means the annual meeting, but I think that I would just suggest that, you could pick one. Phoebe Morris could be taking over for Christina. And then Tamara Gates her term is not up until 2022, according to my record keeping. And so I would recommend that Tim Dice, be taking her place.
Yeah, I think those are the annual meeting days or whatever.
Okay. I know we had a different annual meeting month in the previous year,
Sure, we
so
can go because
I think we're
the
getting back on.
got moved around.
Yeah, I think we're getting back on track.
So is that the
Because,
motion that those people will, that Chris Knickerbocker's term will be taken over by Phoebe and Tamara's by Tim? Tim, that's your motion then?
that sounds good to me.
Yeah, I would amend I would revise the motion to include that language, yes.
Thank you.
I second that amendment.
Is that good, Nate?
Yeah, I think so. It makes sense, and you can always go back and fix it if, when you look at it, you identify that there's something wrong with it.
Right. All right.
Okay.
So, any discussion about that? We got a motion and a second. We'll vote on that. Rusty,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Fran,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
and yes.
All right. That's great.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Nadine.
That's it. I was just going to keep that really short and sweet tonight. Thank you all very much for all your support. Appreciate it. And Nate, if there's any problem with that, we'll figure it out. Talk to me. Okay. Oh, and do they need to be sworn in? Rod, does he need to virtually attend our meeting and swear him in?
Or do they stop down here maybe?
I'm not gonna swear them in virtual, they gotta show up in person,
Right.
or I can come down
Okay.
there.
All right.
Just have them
Well,
stop
we do
down.
it virtual. I'll have them come to you.
But I can't swear them in virtual, they gotta come in and sign the book.
Okay.
Or I
right.
can track them down, not that hard. Just tell them,
Okay.
Okay,
I'll send you their contact information.
okay.
Okay. Remind me about
Right.
Thursday, like a bunch of times too.
I will. I will. Thank you. All right. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Nadine.
Thank you.
All right, let's see, we can do bump the justice's budget by $11,359. So they received a grant for surveillance and alarm systems.
Well, I second the mayor's motion.
Any discussion on that one? It's good news. We didn't get it last year. We tried again. We got it this year. We'll vote on that. Rusty,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Fran,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
and yes.
That's for some Melcourt.
What's that?
Melcourt.
Melcourt.
The last time we changed the Melcorp 129,000 to 129,900. Nate, you told us it's gotta be, I'm sorry, Mayor, I didn't mean to.
Yeah, Nate can go for this one. We've done this 2 or 3 times.
Yes,
We need to unbump it.
this is the 129.9
Back to 129.
you've been awarded, and then we thought there was a $900 mistake, which is what we tried to fix last time. So we're just going back to the 129.9 figure.
129 even.
Right.
That's
129,000 even.
No, it's $129,900. That is the bid amount.
That's the original amount. That's now the correct amount.
Just to make sure we got it. Originally, it was 129.9. We lowered it to 129 even, and we're putting it back to 129.9, or is it the reverse of that?
Nope, you got it right the first time.
129.9.
I move that we reset that to 129.9.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion about that? All right, we'll vote on that. Rusty,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Fran,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
and yes. I didn't have that on my list, so next month I got a word list here. That's not. Let's see, next should we do the results of the solar energy bid?
You have skipped the department head reports.
Yeah, no, we'll get there. Let's try and
Okay.
knock some of this other stuff off the list here. All right, so we put a, it's an RFP or competitive bid. So we put a bid out for the solar energy, like we talked about, oh God, a year ago maybe. But then we didn't get any bids because the solar farm was full. Well, there's room now, and we got a bid. We got one bid from Delaware River Solar. 100% know how to read the bid. Besides that, it looks like it's, if we sign up for the bid, it will save us about $2,600 annually on our electricity bill
For village.
for the village. Yeah.
5%, 10% of the village's cost or something.
I think it's about 5%.
Okay.
Nobody's on it. Knows exactly. I know they said it can go up if we get the bills straightened around somehow.
And vaguely remember that 5% was the minimum, and it could go up to 10.
It's
So
not a
that-
bad amount for 5%. Sounds great. We're looking for that kind of money to save.
So you believe 2,600 is 5%?
It's around there. It's right. They break out all. We get like a million different nice egg bills for the village, so it depends on the account. And it's just electric, not gas, so it's
Saving money and going solar.
yeah. I haven't found a downside.
I do have a question. I mean, when it does snow and it covers up, we go back to the grid. Does NICEAG hit us with a higher rate than if we stayed with them regular?
I don't think so, because the way it works is these solar panels generate electricity that gets fed, and don't quote me on this because I'm no electrician guy, but they generate electricity that gets fed into the grid. So you just might not get the credits that month, you know what I mean? If it's not feeding electricity into the grid. That's how they lower your bill, is they give you so many credits that equals money. Like a deduction on your bill, basically.
I'm just curious. They said they were going to match the existing bid that we had last time. Did they do that with this rebid?
I believe so.
Okay.
So I have a question.
Okay.
Is this another thing where we have to decide in a day and a half? Do we have a time frame on this?
I mean, we got the bid. I don't know how long we have to accept the bid.
I don't know. Last time we waited, we got kicked off.
Right, so that is the risk, that once the solar farm fills up, it's full.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have
I
X
don't
number of
see
days.
any reason not to go ahead with it. I mean, we're bound to save some money. Otherwise, what difference does it make? We save or we don't save?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't see a downfall for it.
Besides,
I didn't find any downfall either. I just wanted to pick other people's brains.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a no-lose situation, right? To the extent that there is one of those.
That's what the letter says, actually, and it describes it as a win-win, but I don't know, it usually isn't the case, but you know. Delaware River Solar, just reading the letter, is the largest community solar developer for NICEAG. I mean, they're not
that still be the Gaskill Road facility? Do we know?
New facility.
I don't know. I don't know if they tell you where your solar panels are, but they did build the Gaskill Road one.
They filled that up.
They actually have, there's a list in here of places that are projects. So they've done Gaskill Road, one in Callicoon, New York, one in Moores, New York, Wildman, New York, two in Monticello, another one in Callicoon, Hilton, Spencerport. So they've done them all over New York State, basically. The closest one is Gaskill Road in Owego.
And of course, they are from Callicoon. That matters.
Right. Under construction right now, there's one under construction in Bath, Portage, New York, Fayette, and Montgomery. I'd assume we'd probably be going on one of those. I do know they said that the construction ends like June-ish. That's when we'd start seeing, when these come online, that's when we start seeing the savings. So, I don't know, do we have a motion or anything for me to sign this contract?
I so move that you sign the contract to join Delaware Solar.
I'll second it.
Should we make that contingent on Nate reviewing this contract? Did you see this contract, Nate?
I have not seen it.
Okay, let's do that.
Let's do that, eh?
Yeah, subject to review.
Subject to review.
Okay. Makes me feel better.
Yeah, as per my input earlier, I don't like to do things when we don't know what's going on. I'm more comfortable with this with Nate's review.
Yeah, so the bid opening was 3 o'clock today, so Nate hasn't seen these yet. We'll get Nate to look over and then sign it or not. So we'll vote. Rusty?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Fran?
Excuse me, I got kicked off because my power went out here. Are
Oh,
we voting on the solar power?
we are, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Laura?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
And yes from me.
Do you think Fran missed the part about it going through Nate first, since she got kicked off of the power? How much of that did she hear?
Maybe. So Fran, we're gonna send this contract to Nate to review, and then if he's good with it, then I'll sign it.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for letting me know.
All right. Let's see.
I got one quick.
Okay.
This is a liquor license
yeah.
renewal request. We already brought it up once before. It's for the little wine bar on 34 Lake Street. They just, you don't vote on anything, I just bring it up, but they just sort of changed their name. So by changing their name, I have to just bring it up again. So it's going to be called Leonardo's Wine Bar. Apparently. So that's all it is.
No action necessary.
No action necessary. They have to give it to us before they go to the state.
I think we can object, right?
Yeah.
As long as nobody objects, we'll.
So what is it? They're just changing their name to Leonardo's Wine Bar?
Yeah,
Yep.
I think before it was,
Forget what the name was.
I don't know.
Lionel's Leonardo Bar.
I don't object.
That was good. That was good, Rod.
Yeah.
All right, there you go.
Let's talk about the DRI RFP for architectural services. I know a bunch of us went through the books. What I want to try and do tonight is select probably two. I know at least me and Ron are on the same page about which one we want to see, but I want to try and select 2 or 3 that I can invite to our next meeting, and then you guys can grill them all you want. So I would vote Hunt as one of those 2. Laura, what do you think?
I would like to invite 3 companies, Hunt being one of them, La Bella another, and the Saratoga Associates. So the 3 that I would like, yeah, La Bella Associates, Saratoga Associates, and Hunt Engineering.
Okay.
Why don't we make that a motion then?
Wait a minute. Wait for Ron because he should have some input here. And
Yeah, I definitely agree with the Hunt. I would much rather see Delta as one of the 3. The third one, I really have no say on. I was pretty appeased by the 2, but I'll be glad to tantalize a third one.
Yeah, and Delta's local, or Binghamton, so.
Delta's did not include design, and then they had so much that kind of had like this village element that we don't have. So they their language said that they would review, assist, and coordinate village officials on the projects, but that sort of means that we have this hired person that does all these projects. And so if that's another, so many hundreds of grands of thousands of dollars that we need to hire out for designers and people to coordinate, I think that would eliminate that from our ability to do that project, or have them host this part of the project if they're not going to do it all. And so Delta just didn't include it in their proposals at, they had the detailed lines, and within them they didn't cover it. So, and that it was, over $500,000, and they weren't including it in their services. So that's why I didn't like them.
Well, Hunt didn't have a lot of inclusive evidence either, but I called him and had a conversation. And he didn't know it was supposed to be that in-depth, is what he had told me. And he explained that it did involve the construction management, the design aspect, and other things like that. At least the conversation I had with Tim Steves from Hunt. I reached out to Delta, but I could not get a return call from them, so I don't know what their standing is on that.
They call me 10 times a day. Not about that. So I guess why did you pick Saratoga, Laura?
Well, I talked to Brittany Woodburn, and so I wanted to know who she liked, who she'd want to get more details from. And so Saratoga, she listed a lot of things in there. So they use Fagan as their additional services that they don't already have in-house. So that was for I think the landscape design elements and stuff. And so for signing the contract, we want to do it with the Saratoga because the Fagan they have used for other projects and stuff. And the Saratoga had a very good breakout by project about what they were doing. So they did have all of the design stuff in there. They included the interactive parts with the public. So certain design projects had to have some engagement with the public about what they wanted to see. And so they included that. There was just a couple things that they did not include. like specifically with Marvin Park. So they did not include putting the sail over the pool, that shade sail, or the restroom upgrade, or upgrades to the skate park in their proposal. But they didn't say why they didn't include it for that one. But Saratoga looked, really good. And what the price that we have listed on our sheet that like we had the 10 proposals,
Yeah,
that price was listed a little bit higher than the proposal. So the proposal is actually $569,589. So it's a good, $40,000 less. And so it's like competitively, let's see where it's at. It brings it lower than some of these other, it brings it way lower on the list of the pricing.
My concern with doing companies that are so far out is that we have previous experience with RPR services, travel expenses that are unnecessary to the village. If we have pools within driving range, that wouldn't have to incur those costs.
yeah.
These are all New York State companies, though. And they list whether or not they were coming in the proposal.
Right, and a lot of those had RPR services listed, as well as mileage and billable expenses that would be incurred with that.
Yeah, one of the things I did not like about Saratoga is they had a lot of subcontracting firms, things that they do not do in-house.
So how about we do Hunt and Delta, because we already have relationships with them. And then Labella, and then if we don't like what they say, then we'll interview more.
Yeah, well, I also liked Barton and Luigi Deese.
Well, can we start with those three? Hunt, Delta, and Labella? So I talked to Julie, well, actually Brittany talked to Julie, but I talked to Brittany who talked to Julie. There is a cap for soft costs, they call them, which is architecture, design, and lawyer at 15% of the DRI. I don't remember, Nate, what was your contract for?
Oh gosh, I don't, 0.5%.
Yeah.
But I don't know if any of these even fall within that 15%, to be honest with you. I mean, some might, the rest probably don't. Not that we have to pick on price, but we do have to stay within the budget too.
So when I talked to Brittany just a little bit ago, and I thought she said it was at 10%, and we needed to look into raising it to the 15%, so that way we could cover the soft costs of hiring any single one of these companies, because we don't have enough to hire even the lowest bidder.
She's still on, I think, so she can probably explain that.
Yeah, I'm on. Yeah, so I had a call with Julie Sweet today. She's the project manager for the Department of State that's overseeing the village's projects. And the way they set up the budget, which the mayor, I believe I just emailed that to you a little bit ago. That was what came in with the grant agreement package. The Department of State listed the soft costs for design specifically about, I believe it's about 428,000, something like that. And then I think they had a legal line in there of about 54,000. And so, yeah, so they set it at about 10% of the grant award. And so Julie said it's not that you can't go back and get a budget modification from the Department of State, but she said typically projects stay within the 10 to 15% for soft costs of the project amount. So yeah, you'd have to kind of look at those numbers, and depending on who you pick, she had a couple of recommendations. She recommended the village do some sort of scoring metrics on the proposal that they received. And then do just what you guys are suggesting, have a 2 or 3 come in and do an interview process. And she said to check with Nate to see if there's any way to go back and kind of negotiate on some of these prices as well. She wasn't sure if it was a sealed bid process or not, and what the village's procurement policy is on that. So yeah, it just depends on where the numbers fall. You can go back and do a budget amendment, but you don't want it to exceed that 10 to 15% cap.
And you guys can negotiate these numbers, certainly, so any that maybe didn't fully identify to your satisfaction some of the services, if you interview them, you can say to them, we want you to do everything. So what'll that cost? And then here's our budget that we can work within. You need to stay in it. Are you willing to do it for that amount? It's going to be a negotiating process.
So I think everybody kind of likes, or most of us kind of like Hunt, Delta, and maybe Labella. You want me to have them come to our next meeting and we can talk about it? I mean, Hunt is closest price wise as far as the 10%. The rest are kind of up there, but
I definitely
depends how we
want
negotiate with them.
because I would just like hundreds of questions to see like if they're even going to cover the, all those costs, the design costs and stuff. They just didn't list it. They didn't do any detail schedule for the projects. So it's just because they're the cheapest.
I talked to them about that, and they said that was included, and I'm sure he would bring it up when we do bring them in. But I mean, I'm all for that, Mr. Mayor. I mean, we have to see the ones we want anyway, then make an educated decision at the end.
Right.
We might as well just get this started.
Well, yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean it has to end there. If we don't like any of them, then we pick another couple or whatever. Is everybody okay with that list to start with anyway?
I'm fine with it.
Is there any way we can have an in-person meeting for these presentations?
Not sure.
I mean, could we ask the county if we could use their conference room?
We can try. I don't know if they're letting people use it.
I mean, it's hard to picture these things, online. It would be so much easier to see their design and ask questions in person.
Couldn't agree more, Fran. It's just whether we can do it.
Would the board be willing to come to an in-person meeting? Who would come and who wouldn't?
I would definitely come.
I would.
Yes.
So, Charles?
If it's safe, I would come.
Right. All right, so we'll investigate that.
How about also check with Child Opportunities if we could use their room over here? I mean, that would give us a lot more room to distance.
Same thing. I'm on their board and I don't know if they're open for, I can tell you their board hasn't had an in-person meeting in a year. I don't know if they're
Right? Check and see if they rent that hall to us.
Yeah, I just don't know if they're even using it right now. We'll check into it.
I mean, I love the idea, but I don't know if it's feasible or even legal at this point with the governor's orders and whatnot.
I don't know what the gathering law is this week.
Well, it's a 6-foot distancing is the important thing.
Well, there's some funky laws. I don't know. We'll check into it and see what we can do. All right.
So did we decide upon Hunt, Delta, and Labella?
I think we're going to start with those three. See where we go from there. Because like Brittany said, we gotta get them down to around 10% anyway. So some of these guys have, just for public information, our bids went from 483,000 to over $1 million. So from close to 10% to 25%. Next, court audit. I think that's just an update. Ron, I think I saw you did it, right?
Yeah, I did it. She sent an email out to everybody just showing everything that I filled in and sent it off. I signed the letter already. Just verifying the information.
All right. Next, let's go back. We'll do department head reports. That way, Robin, if she's getting bored. Go for it, Robin. You're the only one here.
Okie dokie. Nothing exciting really. We had 128 calls for the month of February. Also, one of our new members, Emily Stansfield, she passed her national registry EMT test yesterday. So she is now certified, and she will be riding with me this weekend as well. So it's nice to see our new members are progressing in the EMS field. So that's pretty much all that we got on that end, you know.
What's her name for the minutes? Rob, to put it in.
Stansfield.
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 All right.
We've
Let's
got
see.
several new members. We got a lot of members coming back from the COVID now that they've all had their shots as well. So that's improving a lot for us in easing some of our situation. Because as you guys have heard, I'm sure on the scanners, we're doing a lot more mutual aid because there's a lot of agencies that just aren't able to cover their calls. So
I have definitely noticed, yeah. But we're covering them, which is good.
we're trying to. We can't say we always can, but we're going to give it a whirl.
A lot of times you guys are, which is good.
We'll be down one ambulance for a couple of days. One's going down Wednesday. So the loaner ambulance will be used for the first time. So that's a good thing to have it so we can still take two.
All right.
So
Hey,
that's where we're
Robin,
at.
remind me, do we get insurance and payment for mutual aid calls?
Well, it's billable.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. As long as they call us as mutual aid, it's billable.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. But we'll see. I mean, I know Nichols is hurting, Tioga Center's hurting, Gander's hurting. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Everybody.
we don't have a huge number of ALS providers, and that's a lot of what they really need. So we have to be careful that we're not pulling away from our own community down here as well.
I know there's talks at the county level that, EMS is a needed service that's getting rough in a lot of these smaller communities. We're lucky we have a lot of volunteers, but
Very fortunate. I mean, we've had people say, well, how come you haven't gone to paid people? I said, because we have a lot of volunteers. We're very fortunate. So that's because we're so fun to be around.
the smaller municipalities aren't as lucky that they're around us. But good news is we're helping them out when we can.
That's right. That's right.
Anything else?
For me, guys? Nope, I'm good.
Boring is good, Robin.
That's our goal.
All right. Let's go. Any other department heads on? You got anything from?
We don't have anything from the fire department right now for the fire chief and the police chief, and the mayor and others are working along on the police collaborative. Nothing
Yeah.
from
So
me.
on the police, I sent that out to the board this afternoon. It's just my first rough draft. I've already been talking to Chief Kennedy about it, so expect to see 100 more rough drafts before Friday, probably. But my goal is to get that publishable by Friday. late Friday, maybe. So we can put that out for community comment. That's the next step in that police reform process.
Would that be another public meeting?
No, it would just put it out like a press release, and we'll accept comments through email or whatever.
Do we have Jeff with us tonight for the DPW?
We do
No,
not.
Jeff is not here tonight, but other than the memo he sent in, there's nothing of significance to report.
Okay, well, a question I had about the DPW, when we had our first meeting for the police reform, one of the residents was saying that there were a number of streetlights that were out. And I was wondering if that's been checked so that we can get back to the company that's supposed to be maintaining the lights.
I will ask Jeff as soon as I can get in contact with him, and I can get back to you.
Yeah, those lights need to be checked.
Yeah, it's a safety hazard if we're out.
Yeah, I know OPD was trying to check the ones on the streets that they listed, just to make sure, figure out which ones are out. Because
They said
DPW
it
not
was
out at night.
a circuit issue or something of the nature.
Well, the ones on the bridge, yes. So,
Okay.
so there's like a quarter of the bridge that's out.
Yeah,
And
that
I
whole east side is from the
Yeah.
434 about halfway over the bridge.
I think part of Lake Street, and those are some sort of electrical issue, not just light bulbs or whatever. I know they were trying to check into that last week. So.
And the way the wind is whipping around out there tonight, I hope there is no additional trouble to add on top of that. I mean, I like my house is coming down. I don't have to worry about Mike. I don't have to worry about my front door blowing off. That went a few years ago during that outburst. Remember that?
Already gone.
So
All right, let's do transfers. Everybody get the list of transfers. I know I questioned one on the list, and Rodney answered my question. The question was the last one, $30,000 from the fire reserve to the DPW reserve. And it was because
We took it out of the wrong. When we did it.
Yeah, they took it out of the wrong account when they did it.
When we did it for the fire.
Other than that, it is all same department to same department, just one line item to another line item, balancing things out.
I second the mayor's motion to accept the transfers.
Okay.
Put those words in your mouth.
I know. Anyway,
I assumed you read them off. I assumed it was a formal motion.
all right, anybody have any discussion about the transfers? Everybody got them, right? All right, we'll vote on them. Rusty?
Yes.
Charles?
yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes,
Laura? Laura?
You're muted, Laura.
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
And yes. All right, next thing is January treasurer's report. We carried this over from the last meeting because I know at least Fran didn't get it until right before the meeting. So this is just to accept the treasurer's report from January.
And last time you had already reviewed it, Mayor, and we're good with it. I move we accept the treasurer's report from January.
A second.
Okay, anybody have any discussion about that? Vote on that, Rusty?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Fran?
yes,
Laura?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
And yes. The next thing is the minutes of 2/16/2021.
I looked those over and they look great. I motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. Discussion? Rusty,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Fran,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
and yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Next is the minutes of 2/22. And I will say, before we do anything, I just gave Rod a list, printout of everybody who's at the meeting. He's gonna add that to the minutes.
And it also has the video as part of the minutes. Move to approve the minutes of February 22nd special meeting.
A second.
Discussion? Rusty,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Fran,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Ed,
So I watched the video because I was unable to attend because I had a medical procedure that day. But I'm going to abstain.
okay. And yes. Next thing is payment of bills. There we go. Does anybody have any questions?
It was nice to see some final payments for some of those subcontractors at the wastewater treatment.
Yeah, and I'm ready for that to be over.
Despite the size of the payments, I'm glad to see the final.
I know, right?
I'll make the motion to approve.
A second.
Any other discussions about the bills? All those fun topics, the bills. Rusty,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Fran,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
and yes. Write them. Now they can pay them. Moving right along. Next thing is trustee reports. So start with, we're going in order. Rusty? Yeah.
Just give me a second here. Since we love having a meeting every single week, shall we have a meeting beginning of next week, sometime between first question, do we know that we have through the 15th, which is our next meeting, to do that
We don't know.
mega thing? Okay,
We don't know.
so shall we anticipate a meeting between the 8th and the 12th to have to do the mega? And if we were to do that, are we along a spot where we might want to include in that meeting? Doesn't have to be necessarily a giant public meeting about the police reform, but might include something on the police reform also, depending on where we are in that meeting?
We can always include an update on it.
Do we have enough time to publish for that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That meeting, generally, we've been having them on Mondays, and we're supposed to have that information from Mega on Monday, but sometimes things don't happen in the timely matter. We want to have that meeting on a Tuesday or a Wednesday instead of a Monday or something to just make sure that we have that. I don't know.
But I thought the mega thing required us to meet prior to that Monday meeting, right? If we don't have their approval to extend.
yeah, we'd have to meet sometime between the 8th and the 12th.
Yeah.
No. What I was saying, Ed, was that we need the Mega information, which is supposed to be to us on Monday, the 8th, but I wasn't exactly confident that we would necessarily have it if we set this all up for the 8th.
Yeah.
But Rodney says we will have it.
We'll have it, yeah.
Then maybe this, because we love it, maybe we should have another meeting on this coming Monday. I
So
don't know.
So I agree with that. And if there's if we can't do it any other way, I second Rusty's thinking.
What do you think, Mayor?
Yeah, I don't want to agree, but
No, I didn't say I want to do this.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, will the office be able to email this information to all the board members before we meet?
Sure.
Let me get that from you.
Yeah. As soon as I get it from them, I have a meeting with them in the morning. So we'll get it to, but probably by noon.
So when we have if we have a meeting, do we have to, special meeting like this, do we have to outline the things we're gonna do, or can we just do anything we want?
Or we have to have an agenda, but technically you can do anything you want.
So let's put on that meeting that we're going to do the mega, and let's put that we're also, that meeting may be for the police collaborative, not another full public meeting, but that may be on the agenda for that.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Can be on the agenda, doesn't mean we have to do it.
Is it, you want something sponsoring? Kind of big.
I know it's vague.
We could go over our plan, I guess, our draft plan. Present it.
We may be presenting that to the public in some manner at that meeting. Because they're supposed to be informed every step of the way, and so if we, at that meeting, present them this
But it's out there.
potential early draft form of it, that's informing them along the way. Let's just include it in case.
I like it.
So I move that we do that, have that meeting.
Seconded by it. Okay.
Yeah, I second that.
All right.
That's 7 o'clock?
Yeah, I don't know if we really need to vote on that. Anybody oppose that?
Okay. All of us.
My wife probably does. Sorry.
That's it for me.
Okay.
I propose all the trustees get a raise with all these meetings.
Yeah, $1 a week.
Right.
$1 a week.
All right. Let's see, Charles, what you got?
No, I have nothing that stands out for this week.
Ron?
Yeah, I'm good. I'll be there.
All right. Fran?
I have no report on the EMS, and actually the cemetery committee has not had a meeting. John Rickliff has been out of town. Our next meeting is going to be on Tuesday the 16th, and then we'll go back to our regular meeting the first Monday of the month in April. That's
Okay.
all I have for now.
Laura, you got anything?
OHPC is going to have a meeting Thursday at 7 p.m. There's only one thing on the agenda. It's 90 North Ave, that Presbyterian church. And the zoning board and the planning board, they both have meetings scheduled for later this month. And they are looking to, because it's a long month, they're looking to move those meetings a week up ahead. So, so far as I've seen, only 2 people have replied, 1 from each group. So hopefully more people will, and they can reschedule those meetings. So the zoning board is looking to meet March 24th, and the planning board March 23rd. So.
Okay. Just remind me about those, because if I don't start them, they don't work.
Yeah, all right, I will do.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Ed, you got anything?
So I'm the trustee of the Fannie Hyde Trust, and we have an application before us from the Owego EMS. So I'm going to need to probably coordinate with the board about that application. So I'll send the information around and we can have a discussion about it.
Okay. Nate, is there any issues with that?
So I guess I need to know more about, what this application is and just exactly what it is that's going on. This is the first I've heard about it.
Yeah, it's funding for laptops for the EMS, and the Fannie Hyde Trust prohibits the use of funds for regular public expenditures. So we're not to consider requests that would take the place of normal tax dollars, if you will.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I can't, insofar as you're wearing your hat for the trust, you'll have to talk to the trust's attorney to determine whether it's an appropriate expenditure.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Anything else?
No, that's it for me.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
The judge wanted me to touch base with the replacement of the windows again. I know we had a quote sent to us, I want to say a couple months back. He just wanted to make sure that was still on the agenda for spring. I just told him that I would bring it up to the board.
Is that at 90 Temple Street?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was roughly $10,000 for the windows.
Is that for the whole building, or is that just for the upstairs?
I believe it's just for the upstairs and the bottom of the hallway going out the door going up to the courthouse.
I think we have to look at the whole building.
How many more estimates? We need more than one estimate.
So Rod says we need more than one estimate.
Yeah, and I think if we're going to consider that, we should do the whole building. It doesn't make sense to do the upstairs, not the downstairs.
Right.
I would definitely be in agreement with that. I'm sure the chief would love that as well.
Yeah.
And Ron,
Yes, Rusty.
we are also in semi-dire need of a roof over the front steps. So there's a number of things for that
Right.
building, and there's a limited amount of funds for it. So I'm just, when we're putting these things in priority order, we're sniffing
Oh,
a roof
Brought
over
up
those
the
front
roof to
steps.
me as well.
But the judge understands all that.
Oh, yeah. I told him I would bring it up to the board just to remind them that there's still the need.
So I would remind the board that if you look at that building today compared to what it looked like 2 years ago, it's head and shoulders better. So we'll just, we'll continue chipping away at it.
Exactly.
I agree. And we'll have to get a couple more estimates on those windows just to make sure we do everything right. And yeah, look at the whole building instead of just the top floor.
Windows and doors.
Anything else, Ron? You good?
I've got nothing else. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Next thing is communications. We got one letter. And this is again regarding the Owego Hartford Railroad and about it blowing its horn instead of using crossing guards. Prostitute. Yeah. So,
Well, is it certain times of day that the complaint is about?
what's that, Fran?
Is it certain times of the day that the complaints are about, or just in general?
In general. So it says, I understand there's a new owner. The past owner, Steve May, made an agreement with the Owego Village Board to use a flagman ahead of the train and not use the whistle. Control the speed and operate safely through the flats. This saved the neighborhood from being blown out of our homes from the whistle, made the streets safer, and saved Mr. May the cost of placing crossing arms at each crossing. And I don't know if this happened lately, I don't think it did. But says there was an accident where a car drove under a propane tanker blocking West Ave. This could have been a disaster. Fortunately, the driver was unharmed and there was no explosion from the tanker. The agreement with the village board shall be on record, and I and the neighborhood would appreciate this unsafe and disturbing issue to be addressed.
I wonder if this is in connection with any connection with the recent amount of snow we've had. I really can't see anybody walking alongside a train in the snow that we've had in this area. So maybe there's a connection of why they switched over to blowing a horn than to put a flagman in danger. This is just
Yeah,
a guess.
Yeah, and you know, to add to that, maybe we should have someone from the railroad come address us about this issue.
I think so, because, so I did find out that the county owns the tracks.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and it's leased to the organization that operates. Yeah.
and the railroad has changed ownership, and I don't know if they're still bound by the agreement that the previous owner made with the village board, you know what I mean?
Nathaniel,
Well,
is that the case?
I think it's the same. So I believe that the ownership of the business that leases the railroad has changed hands, but that would still leave the business's agreement in place with the village.
Well, with the previous owner, there was a flagman at every crossing all the time.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, I think
this
we need to figure it out.
blowing the whistle is a new occurrence.
I think we need to
Well,
figure it
yeah.
out. I think we need to have someone come talk to us about it.
And they blow the horn for a long time too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nate, what do you think about this whole issue?
I mean, Steve May was the former owner of the railroad, right?
Correct.
And so he was a resident of the village. He had a pretty strong interest, I think, as the owner in accommodating people and making sure the railroad operated in a friendly manner. If there's no agreement in writing, I'm assuming he did it basically out of the kindness of his own heart. Whoever's purchased the railroad, if there's no written agreement for this, I think you'll have a pretty tough time getting them to agree to flag people.
Yeah, so I guess that's something we need to research, maybe.
Yeah, who would be in possession of this agreement?
Any document like that should be in the clerk's office if there is one. You know, I'm sure Rod would be able to say, yeah, we got one, or no, we don't. It's certainly something Cindy and Kim can check out, but if we don't have a copy of a written agreement in place, I'm going to assume.
All right, they're gonna look. He'll ask Cindy and Kim.
Owns those tracks and leases them out. Shouldn't the county be the lead of how they're operating?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you, Laura. If they're leasing, I think they should be responsible for communicating.
Yeah, but I think Nate's point is that Steve May's edict to his people was that they used flagmen, and that may not be technically legally necessary, and it's probably not something that his company's lease agreement has for the railway.
Yeah,
I think it needs to
blow the horn.
And I think to Laura's point, I mean, we should probably reach out to the county to see if it is part of it, if they even have any inclination about that.
Yep,
Before we
absolutely.
go trying to rifle through years of papers.
Right.
Okay.
Yep, agreed.
All right, so we'll check into that with here and the county and see what's up with it. I know I haven't heard it blow its horn. It blows it for a long time.
So it's like laying on for like 20, 30 minutes at a time, and the train just sits on the tracks. And
Well,
that's
I think
during
what happens
hours and stuff like that.
I think what happens is they blow it all the way through the crossing, but then they hit the next crossing, so they basically just lay on the horn all the way through the flats.
But they're just slowly moving the trains during that time and blocking the neighborhood off for like, half hour at a time. And the school is over there, the fire station. And so like, I guess it's not just the horn, but like other things that the residents kind of are complaining about, right?
Right, yeah, this this letter is just about the horn, but yeah, we have heard complaints about them blocking the crossings for a long time and stuff like that, so.
Okay. So I do think like that should be addressed with the county, that like there's, you know, with the change of ownership, there's been a change in their use over here, and we're concerned about it because that's, you know, an avenue for our residents. Like, you know, like the senior housing, all that senior housing over there, the school, you know, fire station, all that. That's a long time for them to block in tracks, whole north end of town.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, that was the only communications we got. Mayor's report, I didn't do a formal report, but been busy. I drafted up the first draft of the police reform initiative. That's how it kicked around. About it. Last item, public comment. We got public comment?
Okay,
Jerry?
sure, I do. So in consultation with a Delaware River Solar representative during the meeting, I just wanted to make it pretty simple and clear that 22 of the non-demand meter accounts that the village has would receive 10% discount. So that's fantastic. And the 5 demand meters would receive 5%. And also, if the Constellation bill, if that supply bill could be merged onto the utility NYSEG bill, that would almost double the $2,600 savings. So that's the capsule that I was able to get.
Okay. No, it's on both, but it's beyond the nice cycle.
I don't know if Constellation would agree to that, or NYSEG would agree to that or not.
Yeah, that's something to look into.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
All right, any other public comment? All right, well, good meeting, guys.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, have a good night, everybody.
See y'all next
Good
week.
night. Everybody stay safe.
Yep, good night.
Ron, I don't know.